All right. Hey guys, how you doing today? This is John Rodriguez, invAAsive, playing another Ugly Tuna poker challenge with a bunch of friends from southern New York. Basically, what's going on here is we just sat down at a tournament where there's 18 players. I'm a little confused as to why there's only 5 people at this table. That does confuse me. It's just strange. I don't know if it's supposed to be six-handed. If this is supposed to be a six-handed tournament or not. But it is very strange that we're sitting with 5 people. But that's fine. You know, if that's what the tournament throws at us, then that's what the tournament throws at us. I'm sure it'll come up in conversation. People who are in the tournament will notice it, and hopefully they won't adjust, and we'll adjust. The tournament just started. This is the same kind of tournament as we had last time that I did a video. Blinds are every 15 minutes. We're going to lead out here with a half pot size bet, middle pair, and a weak flush draw, but I think we're going to get calls from pretty much any flush draw at this point, and I probably could have just checked, but I don't know that a 5 flush is going to be good enough here. When somebody leads out for 30, I think we can just call, and yeah, so turns out, you know, Organic Pete here is min betting with an 8 high flush, which I think is a little bad, but probably even worse was my call with a 5 high flush. Obviously this is a raise for us. I've decided that I'm going to raise bigger here, just because I feel like I want to. I don't really have a good reason for it. I don't want to get involved where I raise to 90 and I get called by like ace-4. So I think if I'm going to be playing queens out of position, I do want to make sure that there's some chips in the pot and that I'm getting called by strong hands and not medium hands. Yeah, it looks like we're still sitting with 6 players. I'm going to be doing a little bit different than what I was doing in my last tournament. I'm going to be a lot more call-y pre-flop. I noticed that the winner of the last tournament was super call-y pre-flop, and oh look, I got a buddy of mine, Brendan, who is just saying hello. How's it going? Hey bud. Obviously we got real fortunate here. I think I can raise. The question is what I want to raise to. If I am dealing with a 10, will a 10 call me? Possibly. If I'm dealing with a flush draw, will a flush draw call me? Possibly. So I think I can raise on the bigger side here. And it looks like if he does lead out, if this guy does lead out and leads out big, I'm probably up against a flush. But since he checks, the question is whether or not I have the best hand. And am I gonna get worse to call me if I make a bet here? Like, will a 10 call a bet? And the club is a really scary hand, or club is a really scary card, and I don't think a 10 is gonna call. So rather than bet and possibly get raised off my hand, I'm just going to show down my 9. Yeah, so obviously we're never getting called, and our raise was the right thing to do on the turn. So, you know, I could have bet, you know, 100 chips into that pot, and Chaos Kid's never calling with just queen high there. So I think it works out that we played our hand. We obviously didn't get lucky. I thought we got lucky when the 9 hit, but it turns out we had the best hand, both pre-flop and on the flop. I don't mind Chaos Kid's bet when he has an open-ended straight draw with 2 overs there. I think it's very profitable to be betting 2/3 pot there, because most of the time when I am calling, I'm calling with either a 9 or a 10. So he knows he's got at least 2 overs to the board, and he's actually got awesome equity if he's up against one pair. So that's just unfortunate for Queen Jack, and very fortunate that my 9's held up there. I think we have some pretty decent players at our table. Celebren is a guy named Brendan, actually a friend of mine. I am a Buffalo Bills fan, and he's also one of the only Buffalo Bills fans that I get a chance to interact with. Most of the people that live around me are New York Giants or Jets fans. It's got to be hard to be a Giants or a Jets fan right now, but it's probably even harder to be a Bills fan. We haven't made the playoffs since the 1900s, so if you can imagine, it's very frustrating to be a fan. But Celebren is a pretty straightforward player with regards to his betting style. Very rarely is he in a hand betting on draws. When he makes bets, he either has it or he doesn't. I actually don't know what he's just check calling minimum here with. Yeah, so he's flopped top pair and he's played it extremely conservatively. Actually, no, he's flopped 2 pair and he's played it super. I don't understand why he would just be check calling bets of 30 with some draws out there. Actually, I don't like the play at all. I think he needs to be just raising on the flop and raising turn for value, for straight value. These minimum raises that I've been up against recently, I've been just calling, but I've made a decision that I'm going to be either raising or folding a lot of these hands. So I think the way you're going to see me play these hands today is I'm either going to fold. I'm not just going to flat defend early in the tournament. I'm either going to fold, get rid of the hand, or I'm just going to raise it and take control of the hand. I know it's kind of weird to play out of position this way, but I'm kind of okay. Okay, so we get min re-raised. It's a very tricky way to play whatever hand he has. It seems like a bad bet, right? Like, Chaos Kid is basically saying, you know, I want control of the hand, but he also absolutely wants to make sure that he's getting called. So I think by me doing this, by me making this pre-flop raise, I probably didn't get myself into trouble. You know, I very well could have flopped an 8 or flopped something that was worth playing, but I think I can comfortably get away from the hand now, knowing that I'm up against a hand that actually is very, very strong. I don't think Chaos Kid is going to be making such a small 4-bet with, you know, King Queen offsuit. So, you know, even if my ace is live, I still don't like it. But I was able to figure out where I stood in the hand by raising pre-flop instead of just calling. I know that you may say that I probably threw away some chips, but I'm actually very comfortable with the way that I played the hand, because I could have actually flopped an ace and been way behind. I could have flopped an 8. You know, maybe a board like, you know, maybe a board just like this, you know, 8-7-2, and gotten really in a bad spot where I could have lost a few more chips. So by me putting in the extra 140 chips, 135 chips above the 60, that probably would have been my flop bet. Would it be 135 chips? Actually, with 120 in the middle, it might have been closer to 90 chips. But either way, I found out where I was in the hand, and it didn't cost me all that much. Here on the button, with a suited ace, I could be raising. I don't know anything about Johnny Urquie. This is the first time I've ever played against him. Once again, when you're in a tournament like this, a home game, you end up seeing a lot of players and getting a lot of notes on people. I do have notes on Den2115, Carlo 4790, and Organic Pete. A hand like this, you would think that you would check behind, but I think I can just bet 60. I think I can just bet 60. You know what? I kind of chickened out. I kind of need them to catch up. Here's the thing about DeCarlo. DeCarlo never bets. Super straightforward player, never gets out of line. If he raises the river, I'm probably in trouble. This Johnny Urquie character, on the other hand, I don't know much about him, so I'm going to do a little walking the dog here. and hopefully I can drag DeCarlo into this hand, and I was able to do that, which is great. So obviously I have the Stone Cold nuts here. Johnny Yerke is the aggressor at this point. Hopefully he bets like 150. So this 75 chip bet. The question is, am I going to make more money if I just call? If I just call, will DeCarlo call behind with a weak 8? And I really don't care. So I'm going to go ahead and just raise and make it look super bluffy. Maybe I'm up against Jack 10 and get paid. Otherwise, I don't think I get paid. But I don't think DeCarlo was just going to flat call. And I think I make more money by getting Johnny Yerke to call, thinking I'm stealing the pot. But, you know, obviously I'm never going anywhere when I flop the nuts. Could I have played it differently? Maybe, but I like to think that if Johnny Yerke is bluffy in this spot, let's just take a look at the way it plays out. So it looks like, you know, Johnny Yerke limps. So, you know, he could have anything like Jack 10, Jack 9, with the Jack of Hearts. You know, if he has a hand like 8, 9, maybe, with the 9 of Hearts or something. Actually, 8, 9. So look, so we got Johnny Yerke to put 150 more chips into this pot. I don't think necessarily, with the way this board texture was, that he would have put any more chips in the pot if we didn't check the flop. So, did we make the maximum? No, I don't think so. Could I have raised smaller on the river? I think it's possible I could have raised smaller on the river. I'm actually thinking more and more about whether or not I should have raised smaller on the river. But again, I really want to find a little bit more information out about Johnny Yerke, find out what he's willing to call. If he's not willing to call, say, you know, that kind of bet, then I know for the future I need to make it a little bit smaller. Some people are a little bit spewy if they believe that you were drawing. It's very possible I could have had the Ace of Hearts and, you know, had just been playing it super passively, and when the heart doesn't come, and Johnny Yerke makes like a little less than third pot size bet, almost quarter pot size bet. It probably looks a little bluffy with me raising that much, and I want to see if Johnny Yerke was willing to look me up, and it looks like he wasn't. This raise is terrible, raising 30 more chips. The question is whether or not I'm going to call. Obviously I'm calling. The question is should I raise? And you know what? I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm just going to call the 60, hope to see a flop, hope to hit. I have no idea what Johnny Yerke's trying to accomplish by just min raising out of the big blind there. You know, maybe he has a pair like pocket 4s or pocket 7s and is trying to put a little bit more chips in the middle in case he flops a set. I've seen people do that. You know, they have a strong hand like 7s, 8s, or 9s, or even 6s, and they're thinking, you know, if I flop a set, this is going to be great, and they'll min raise just to sweeten up the pot. I've seen people also do this with 4-5 suited, 3-5 suited. In cash game settings, though, not really in a tournament setting, the way these chips are set up, where everybody starts out with 200 big blinds, this, and the more I think about it, this is actually playing a lot like a cash game, even though there's no rebuys. And I would think that when you're playing a tournament where there's no rebuys, you might tighten up a little bit. But there's just so many chips that you have so early in a tournament that a lot of your decisions are really, you know, you're so deep. I think you end up playing it a little bit like a cash game. Anyway, it works out for Johnny. You know, I'm interested to see what his, you know, he ends up min raising out of the big blind. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 callers, so he knows he's getting called. So that's why I hate this raise, because it really doesn't accomplish anything but sweeten the pot. So if you have like a 7-8 suited or something like that, so he leads out for third pot. That really leads me to believe that he actually has a 7-8 suited, and is betting another 100. 7-8 suited still plays this way, betting 200. Yeah, I think 7-8 suited kind of plays this way all day. So I'll never know whether or not Johnny ended up having that hand. But if I'm trying to rationalize what this player is up to, I think the only thing that makes sense, because you can't have nothing. Your bets are so small. they're so weak that anybody who has any part of that flop, and it was relatively wide open, anybody could really have any pair, and nobody really established their hand. So betting 200 on that river was kind of not a bluff. Let me put it that way. It might have been a weak middle pair, but it definitely wasn't complete air or ace high. Ace deuce, easy fold from under the gun. There are 22 players in this tournament, and we are 5th out of 22, which for now really kind of doesn't mean a whole lot, but it's always nice to accumulate some chips kind of early and show good hands. I don't think I've had a hand go to showdown to where I've shown... Let me see real quick. Yeah, I had one hand go to showdown, and I've actually had 2 hands go to showdown, one of which I won. I'm actually still a little bit upset with the fact that when Johnny Urke bet 75 into a 320 chip pot, that I didn't just raise it to like 280 instead of raising it to 420. Yeah, it's only a couple hundred chips, but I sure would like to know what he's betting with in these spots. And since I don't have any information, eventually I'm going to have to pay for the information, and that would have been a great way to pay for some information on my opponent. Here I flopped an open-ender, but the dumb end, the stupid end of the open-ender, so I'm not going to be getting aggressive with this hand. Even with the backdoor flush, the question is whether or not I'm going to get paid, if the card that I want to come out comes out. So let's say a queen comes out, I don't think I'm getting paid. Let's say a club comes out, I'm obviously not betting it. So there's really no money to be made in this hand, so I'm just going to save my 40 chips, let Organic Pete take it. I'd like to read my note on Organic Pete. So I do have a note from a previous game that I've played with this player. It says he min raises under the gun with pocket 3s and checks down a queen, queen, 10 board. I might have wrote that just to let me know that when he does min raise under the gun, his range is sort of weak. Not to say that he's not doing that with pocket kings or aces, but he is willing to do it with pocket deuces and 3s, and so that's good information to have if I do see a min raise from Organic Pete. That'll let me know that I don't just flat call his min raises from early position. I can re-raise his min raises very comfortably, knowing that he's willing to do it with all of his small pocket pairs. Now again, you can't really know for sure. Obviously, every player, is in a different spot in every tournament, but it's a good starting point when you haven't played these people in a little bit to kind of get a feel for the type of player they are. We got a call here from Chaos Kid. Chaos Kid is, like I said in an earlier video, a pretty good player. Not a player that I really want to get involved with if I don't have to. What did I have here? Okay. So I want to know what Chaos Kid is limping with. I don't know if it's going to help me too much to know what he's limping with, but if he's limping, right, and then he's checking, and if he's check folding his limps, I'm really confident that he's limping with like shit. He's limping with like Queen Jack, Jack 9, 6, 7 of diamonds. Oh, that's unfortunate. That's an unfortunate situation because Brendan should have raised the hand pre-flop. I don't think he did. Brendan is playing super weak right now, and I don't understand why. That's not his style. I don't know if Brendan has adjusted his playing style. Since you don't know who Brendan is, or maybe you do know who Brendan is, when I first started playing with Brendan, he was a little on the maniacal side. He would just be bombing, pots with middle pair and top pair and just putting you to the test. And it looks like recently, or at least today, he's showing a little bit of a different side of his game. And that's interesting to note, that he's not taking his pocket aces and raising with them pre-flop. Actually, did he raise with them pre-flop? I don't know if he did. So it looks like, yeah, you know what? He did. He did. I apologize, Brendan. I'm sorry. So he's 3xing from, middle position with his hand and continuing for 2/3 pot. Alright, so that was a pretty cut and dry hand. Sorry, Brendan. I thought you had just limped. I could have sworn you had just limped. I will not be limping. I will be raising. I will be raising big. 360. I like raising big here just because I need my opponents to only be in the hand with a solid hand. So we do get a call from Johnny Erkey. And the question is whether or not he's going to believe me. Will he believe me? Yeah, okay. So Johnny Erkey is willing to call from out of position. Well, you know, who knows what he had? He could have been in there with pocket eights, for all I know. If he's willing to call with pocket eights and he doesn't see an ace out there, maybe he sees like a 10 high board, you know, maybe he continues, but doesn't like the ace out there, doesn't like the 10 out there, so that's always a possibility. But again, I've been having a lot of trouble figuring out where my opponents are early on in a tournament when I'm making my raises based on the size of the pot. And I think when you have so many chips and you're this deep, you know, if you're making a pot size raise to say like 160, you know, and you know that really doesn't represent a whole lot for people to be calling with very speculative hands. I've decided in my mind that I'm going to play these types of tournaments very much like it was 2003, and I'm not going to be just doing what the math tells me to do and raising, you know, 2.5x. I did that in other tournaments. I actually did that in the last video that I did, and while it is effective in some ways, I think early on in a tournament I can raise and get myself in a position of control of the hand and raise pretty much whatever I want to raise. And I know that by raising to say 350, 400, that if I do end up getting raised pre-flop, I can just let go of my hand, and it's totally fine. I still have more than 5,000 chips. If I end up getting called, then I know that I'm up against a hand that's not ridiculous. I know I'm not getting called by 5-7, you know, 6-8. So it helps me to sort of feel where I am in the hand, and that might not work for everybody. Obviously, we're check folding, just a 4 high here, and that might not work for everybody. But I've made a decision that I'm going to do whatever I can in these tournaments to make bets that will tell me exactly where I am in the hand. And if I can't figure out where I am in the hand, then I'm obviously going to be playing with a disadvantage. This is it's one of those tournaments where I think you can be firing big early in the tournament, but you also can be firing small to some types of players. I'll give you an example. C. DeCarlo right here, super straightforward. I think I don't have to bomb big and make huge bets when I'm in a hand with this player because they're not going to be pushing back a whole lot. Again, I said in another tournament that when I get to a point where I have the big blind just in sitting out mode, I end up just min-raising. I just feel like if I raise any more and I get pushed back on, I'm not gonna give a whole lot of credit to getting pushed back when C. DeCarlo raises over the top, just because it looks like I'm stealing that big blind. Even though the big blind is completely insignificant, some players don't care that it's insignificant. They just don't want you making plays while they're in a hand. So I don't know what this guy's tanking for so long for. It's pretty cut and dry. It was just a min raise, but so yeah. So like I said, I've been playing poker for a little while now, and I think I'm trying to find a strategy that is sustainable, at least for the next 6 months to a year. People will tell you that the game is always changing. People are always reacting to different stimuli. You know, where one bet could have meant something 4 years ago, that same bet doesn't necessarily mean the same thing, even coming from the same player, you know, in 2014. So as the bets start to say different things to my opponents, I'm trying to find a style that will allow me to interpret those bets. It's kind of like speaking a language, all right? Every one of these players is essentially speaking their own language, and we're all trying to figure out through subtle nuances and movements exactly what the other player is saying. with the bets that they're making. What just happened there? Did kings just lose? How did that happen? Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, so kings loses, but not a lot of money. Organic Pete only wins 280 with his aces. Why? Why did he only win 280? So Organic Pete is limping early position with a bad hand like ace 4. Okay, so Chaos Kid is being sneaky here with pocket kings. While I don't necessarily recommend it, and then min betting here, I don't know. I don't know why Chaos Kid is playing his hand this way. A hand like kings is not the nuts. I don't know why you would ever slow play kings pre-flop at this stage in the game. I think when you only have like, 15 bigs, or your opponent only has 15 big blinds, and you can induce them to, make plays where they end up overshoving on small bets, that's fine. But this deep in the tournament, I think you've got to find a way to get some chips in the middle when you have big hands like aces and kings. But Chaos Kid can play his kings any way he wants, and it turns out he pretty much lost the minimum. If he raised pre-flop, would Organic Pete have called? I guess that's a different question for a different hand. But kind of shitty that, this guy's limping with ace 4 here. Again, I think people are just limping a lot. They're just limping so much that it's like you have so many chips and you're just like, whatever, I have an ace, I'll limp. I have king jack, I'll limp. Here we are with I should be betting this. I'm just gonna bet it. I think my hand's not strong enough to check call here, so I think I can just bet and set my own price. What is Celebren calling me with? He's been playing his hands super duper weak, but I do think that I might be up against a jack, but I'm not sure, so I will check call. I think if he bets 100, 120, I'll call it. Yeah, so I like calling here. Even if I'm up against a jack, I'm getting 3 to 1. What are my outs? My outs are a 6, a 7, or an 8. So I still like my hand. Not my favorite card. Obviously, I play this hand pretty weak. I'm giving Celebren credit for a jack that he won't fold. So yeah, so there we go. So I'm not mad at the way I played the hand. I probably got a chance to see 5 cards for 180 chips, which is great. And I had implied odds, unless Celebren's going to get out of line with just one pair. I had implied odds of a little bit more than that. So I'm not mad at the way I played the hand. And I don't think when Celebren sees my cards that he's mad at the way I played my hand. I think that's another thing that I think about when I'm playing a tournament like this is, not all the time do my hands get a chance to go to showdown. So anytime my hand goes to showdown, I'm essentially giving my opponents, all of my opponents, information as to how I play the hands that I play. Here doing this video, I'm doing the exact same thing, but at least I'm doing it after the fact. And I have the option of just not posting the video if I think it's going to be detrimental to my my table image or to my image in general as a player. But knowing that Celebren sees that hand being played that way is one thing. Understanding the entire table, if they are paying attention, sees that I am betting out half pot on my draws. It kind of balances my half pot size bets to where it does look kind of drawy. So I think I need to keep that in mind at this particular table against these particular opponents, that when I do flop a good hand like top pair, I should be doing the same thing. I should be betting half pot. And hopefully I can get some worse hands to continue, because the information that they have on me is that when I make those types of bets, I haven't gotten there yet. And so hopefully I can get a middle pair to call me down, or somebody else's draw to call me down when I do have those types of hands. I think I also slowed down Brendan a little bit. I think if I check to him on flop and he makes a bet and I call it, and I check to him on turn, he's going to be making a bet and I'm going to want to see that river card. So I think I saved myself a little bit of aggravation by leading out. 6-3 suited, I think I'm raising. Organic Pete's been limping pretty wide here, so I'm going to go ahead and raise to 210. Again, I said that I want to be raising 4x, 5x. I want to be raising to where when I do get called, I know that I'm up against a good hand. I'm not up against riffraff. So I don't like raising to like 120 here. This is actually a pretty decent flop for me. Mainly because I feel like my opponents are calling me with Broadway cards and ace highs. So when Chaos Kid just calls and tanks, obviously I'm going to be betting this when it gets to me. How much do I want to bet? I think 325 is fine. If I get a call from Chaos Kid, I'm going to be very confused. He did play his kings really tricky. Could he be doing the same thing with, say, jacks? You know, it's possible. I don't know what he's tanking with. But when he makes this min raise, I'm absolutely re-raising him. I need to know that he's not just min-raising me. I need to know that he actually has a hand. I still have position, so if he overshoves, I know I'm behind. But if he doesn't overshove and he just calls, I don't know what I'm going to do. I was the pre-flop aggressor. I did make my bet. And yeah, so look. So as it turns out, you know, our play was amazing. We got a glorious, awesome hand to fold, and I think we were able to really try and figure out where our opponent was by making raises and getting aggressive in position. I don't think my play works out of position. I think out of position, I'm just going to tell him that I had aces. I think out of position, my hand doesn't play. It doesn't play the same, and I don't think I can make that bet. But when he min raises like that, I think what he's doing is he's giving me credit for having a hand, and I think he's good enough player to where he could have. A lot of players will get out of line there with an overpair, and they won't just min raise you. Yeah, he writes, figured you had a bigger pair. Thank you for figuring that. I think when he min raises my flop bet. So let's take a look at the way that hand plays out. All right. So obviously I'm making a big raise, and the reason this is the main reason why I'm making this huge raise pre, because I want to know that I'm up against an awesome hand, because it helps me figure out where I was. I gotta raise the same here. I gotta raise the same. When I have big hands, I have to raise as if I have 6-3. So when I make it 300, I'm hoping that people are just going to say, he can't always have it. You know, he can't always have a big hand. So, you know, why does he keep doing this? You know, a lot of players will just min raise in this spot and then, you know, maybe get a caller. I'm okay with somebody. Okay, so this is exactly why I'm playing the style that I want to play. Now, the problem that I have is that Chaos Kid has position on me. So rather than just call, I think I'll call. I think just calling is right. If I see an ace, I can get away from the hand. Okay, so obviously I flopped the stone cold nuts. And I'm hoping for a bet. I've given him control of the hand. This couldn't have worked out any better. The question is whether or not I want to raise him now. This to me is him saying the only thing I'm going to risk on this hand is the amount of money that I have. I think maybe he calls with queens. Maybe. Okay. So it looks like I played the hand pretty much as good as I could have wanted to play it. I couldn't have played the hand any better than I did. I think if I just raise, like the way this hand plays out, if I just raise his $1,100 bet, I think he's able to get away from ace queen. I think I look super bluffy by shoving all my chips in. Like that all-in bet looks like it's designed to get Chaos Kid to fold. And I don't like his call. I just don't like his call. I think he has to fold. I actually think he needs to check behind. I think here when I check to him, when I end up check, obviously, okay, so I played the hand the way I wanted to play the hand. I get sort of min raised, 2.5x raise, and I just call. I flop the world, and so Chaos Kid needs to be checking behind here. There's so many hands he's behind that I'm just never letting go of. If I decide to make that raise with King Queen, if I decide to make that raise with Queen Jack, well, I guess he's not behind Queen Jack, but I just don't like this $1,100 bet. But I think what he's doing is what a lot of mathematical players think that they need to do, is they feel like they need to continuation bet. I think a delayed C bet in this spot probably would have worked out better for Chaos had I not flopped the world. Had I only flopped, say, a draw or just a 10, I think a delayed C bet is the right play for him in that spot. Here I flop bottom pair. I told you when I'm up against DeCarlo, I kind of don't want to get out of line against DeCarlo, so I don't even know if I'm in check call mode. When he bets small like this, I think I'm getting a price to make the call just because I see this club out here. So I do have, a club gives me another set of outs if I do draw a blank. So here obviously I'm check folding, and for lots of reasons. I mean, I could be up against queens, I could be up against King Jack, I could be up against there's so many hands that are better than mine right now. I never think DeCarlo, if you're watching this video, you can just bluff me. Like, you can just absolutely bluff me. I'm just never gonna get out of line against you. Your table image right now is, super strong. I see the way that you play. I played so many hands against you to where you really haven't thrown a line out that was a big bluff or anything until we've gotten to like four-handed or anything like that. So I don't like my call here out of the small blind. I think I should always be raising out of the small blind with ace 10, and so I basically fuck myself out of 50 chips. So even if I do lead out, I don't like that Celebren is playing super weak in his spot. I do think when he checks behind that I'm dealing with Broadway cards, so I think I can make a pot size bet here, and if DeCarlo folds, I'm confident Celebren's gonna fold. If DeCarlo calls, then I'm basically shit out of luck. But, with such a weird board like this, and I'm in the small blind, I very well could have a 6 or 2 pair or some sort of ridiculous hand. And so I guess I kind of backed into that hand by not raising. I think by not raising, my hand very much hits that flop a lot of the time, like 80-90% of the time. So my bet there on the turn is super profitable, even though I only have ace high. And the only person I'm really worried about here is DeCarlo. If DeCarlo decides to call or raise, I know I'm dead. I'm not even, even if DeCarlo calls and, the turn is a 2, I'm never bluffing at it. I just don't think DeCarlo's calling with it without at least 2 pair. Celebren, on the other hand, I'm putting him on, something like King 10 or, Ace 10 or something where he's just never hitting that flop when he's limping. And the only reason I say that is because I think that Celebren has shown, at least in this video, that he is willing to just limp with some Broadway cards. I don't think he's limping with 5-7. Obviously, the way this tournament plays out, when we have so many chips like this, I don't think we have to be, getting involved in every pot. Sometimes you'll want to get super splashy with a king eight, just because it's suited, but I don't think you have to. I think what my range is going to be with the amount of chips that I have is going to be not so tight. I think I am going to be willing to play, 3-6. I'm going to be willing to play, 7-8 suited, and a lot of that has to do with a conversation that I had with Greg on the last tournament that I posted on YouTube, which was, Greg, listen, this is the type of way that I like to play tournaments early on, and Greg kind of let me know that I should be trying a little bit of a different style while the tournament is deep and splashing around in a lot of pots. I think I got really, really lucky when I was able to get Chaos Kid's Pocket 10s to fold. I think that goes without saying, but the way I end up playing that hand, not only did I get lucky, but it also set up my Pocket Kings hand, which ends up being 2 or 3 hands later, and Chaos Kid just can never make 2 big folds against me, 3 hands away from each other. And that's something that a lot of poker players will take for granted. When you have made somebody make a fold, don't try getting them to fold, just like within the same orbit. We've got an all-in and a call here. Oh, that's super, super gross. What I tell you about DeCarlo, all right? DeCarlo is in this hand. Oh, so we can't see the way that hand plays out. But DeCarlo was in the hand with pocket aces and played them beautifully, got it all in when he knew he had the nuts, and was up against Jack 6 from, who just got knocked out here, from Johnny Yerke. So Johnny Yerke basically was playing Jack 6. He did flop trip Jacks, which is fine. Now you're stuck in the hand. It's just unfortunate that he got caught in there with Jack 6. I can't even tell you if the pot got raised pre-flop and he made the call with Jack 6, or if he was just trying to defend. I'm not going to be just calling when I'm defending my big blind. I'm either going to be folding or raising, and that's a line that I'm going to start to practice, because too many people are just flat calling out of the big blind, and you're always playing out of position when you're flat calling out of the big blind. So you really need to be giving your opponent a chance to fold pre-flop. So I'm going to see how this ends up working out for me by making my raises or just folding. And I'm interested to find out what my range is going to be to fold pre-flop. So for example, say I'm in the big blind with a hand like Queen Jack. Am I raising it? I think I am. I think if my big blind gets min raised from late position, I think I'm always raising now with Queen Jack, and I'm not just calling. If I have Queen 3, I think I'm always folding. DeCarlo's just limping here. I like having DeCarlo right here on my right hand side. This way I know if he's not in the hand, I know that I'm not too worried about big hands behind me and being playing. Like if DeCarlo has a big hand, like let's say DeCarlo here has pocket kings. DeCarlo's never limping with pocket kings. So I know when DeCarlo raises that there's a solid hand in front of me and I don't have to get crazy playing against someone that I know already has a solid hand. So that's the beauty of the note system. And also when you're playing these home games, you play these people so much that it sort of gets ingrained the way a certain player plays. Let's talk a little bit about the table that we have against us. Right here to my left is Lady Rosie. This is Ugly Tuna's wife, and I've played against her a handful of times. Pretty straightforward player. I haven't really seen her get out of line ever. In fact, I've very rarely seen her show up with a bluff. So until further notice, I'm going to believe her bets. This player over here, Jason, I don't bluff 111. Jason will fight to win pots. There are players that are aggressive. There are also players that are sticky. Somewhere in between is Jason. Jason's not necessarily the most aggressive player. He's not super foldy. He will fight to win pots. He's a creative player. He's played the World Series of Poker before, as far as I know. I think I saw him on TV once, and he went pretty deep. which is going to show that he knows how to fight to win pots. And I think when you're playing a multi-table tournament, you've got to figure out a way to win pots that you don't deserve to win. So I notice he's sitting here with about an average stack, and I'm going to tread carefully against him, but I know that I can make some bets into him, and I know I'm going to be getting called, not necessarily light, but I know I'm going to get some action from I Don't Bluff 111. So that's good to know. So we have Lady Rosie, then I Don't Bluff. Darrell L. and Joe the Rug I don't know a whole lot about. I do have a note on Joe the Rug, so let me just see what that looks like after I fold King 6. Again, if I get any hand that I want to play, I'm going to play it. I'm not going to be too tight, but these King 6, Queen 7 hands, I don't have to play. So I do have a note on Joe the Rug, which I think is a really weird name to name yourself as an online avatar screen name, Joe the Rug. It just, like, how do you respect somebody named the Rug? Especially somebody named Joe. It's such a random, I'm not a random, but it's such like a perfect name, almost like a nobody, like, oh, that's just Joe the Rug. As if to say you don't need to respect Joe the Rug at all. We already had Organic Pete at our table, so we had some notes on that person. So let's just read the notes that we have on Joe. Joe, I guess, in an earlier tournament back in October of this year, called my button raise, right, from the big blind with pocket sixes. Okay, that's fine. You can call button raises with pocket sixes. On a 5-high flop, he checked it to me. So a flop must have come out, 2-4-5 or 2-3-5. And he has pocket sixes out of position, called my button raise. He chooses not to bet it, checks it to me. And I don't know if I bet it or not, but it says he hit a 6 on the turn, and he bet the same as what my button raise was. So essentially, when Joe the Rug makes a bet that is the same as what you raised him, he's expecting you to call. And I think that goes without saying. When somebody makes a raise that is the same or less than what you've already bet, they're expecting to get a call. Because if you've already put 300 chips in the pot, right? Like, say I raise, right? And I put 300 chips in the pot, and then I check to you, and you bet 300 chips, you're very unlikely to get me to fold my hand. I've already put 300 chips in the pot. You're not betting an amount that's going to affect my hand on whether or not it's still strong or not. If you're betting 240 and I've already bet 300, it's just not a hand that is going to be a successful bluff per se. So then the note that I have on this guy is he hits a 6 on the turn and bets the same as my button raise. Okay, fine. And was looking for a call. Obviously he's looking for a call because he turned a set of 6s even though there's a straight draw out there. Then he snap bets the river with a full house. He bets 40% pot, basically getting me to call to look him up. So his river bet was 40% with a full house. So when Joe the Rug has it and makes a river bet of roughly 40%, I think I have to give him a little bit of credit based on the notes that I have. Is that, well, I guess the texture of the hand and the way the whole hand played out is part of it. But I just don't think that Joe the Rug is going to be the type of person who's going to be getting out of line. I mean, he just called pre-flop a button raise with a pair, pocket pair. So when I'm raising button, my range is out of control, super wide. I could be raising with Queen 5, I could be raising with, Jack 8. So by not raising from the big blind with pocket sixes and playing your sixes out of position, I don't know if you're set mining, I don't know if you're just weak passive, but it does tell me that you're not getting out of line and pushing back and 3-betting light. Because if you have a pocket pair in the big blind, I mean, that's really the type of hand that you want to be 3-betting with and putting the button to the test pre-flop and giving the button a chance to fold, instead of the button outdrawing you on pretty much 70% of flops when you only have pocket sixes. Here I am with a suited 10. While it looks like I could have some equity in this hand, I really don't. And I have 2 limpers behind me, so I think I'm just going to check fold to whatever it is that they're going to bet. The fact that we get a couple checks around, well, DeCarlo, this is such a bad bet. The creative side of me really wants to raise that bet but I don't know much about why Lady Rosie is just, when Lady Rosie checks behind here, she's in the big blind. She could have pretty much anything, and I don't think she's leading out with her 9s. I don't think she's leading out with her 7s. I think she's in check call mode. Okay, so 7-8 holds. What was DeCarlo betting with? Yeah, I'm gonna play this hand pretty strong. Okay, so I got the flop that I want. I think I'm just gonna be putting me and him to the test. If you have me beat, bro, then go right ahead, then put your chips in the middle. I'm calling pretty much all the time. What are you calling with? What do I want to bet here? I think I have to call us all in. Yeah, so I know that I have the best hand, and part of my whole strategy right now is knowing that when I make these big raises pre-flop and I get called, that I'm not, nobody's in there with 8-9, or 9-7. That I'm up against pretty strong hands. And one of the things that me and him was doing in the last tournament, which I don't have a note on him now, but me and him was limping a lot, like a lot. So, was limping with his big hands, limping his small hands, basically limping with Jack 4 suited, limping with, pocket 8s. So the limp here, could have really been anything. And when I make this bet, oh my god, just terrible. When I make this bet pre-flop, I know that I'm not up against a shit hand. Like, I know that I'm up against a pretty decent hand, like the ace queens of the world. So when I make this bet and I just get called by me and him, and it's obviously my flop, I feel like if I bet half pot, it's about 360, 370, which represents a little less than 10% for me and him. So me and him has a good price to peel if I only bet 400. And I wasn't comfortable with just a peel. In fact, when I'm betting 735 here, I want the hand to be over right now. When me and him just calls, when me and him just calls this bet with the 9-6 deuce, there's really nothing out there. So he either has a set or he has nothing, right? I guess it's possible he could have ace-9. I guess that's a possibility. But I was thinking to myself, if I just go all in, right, on this deuce, like, what am I saying if I just go all in? And I thought, if I'm up against a draw, this deuce right here, maybe it's enough to where, I don't even know I think I just wanted the hand to be over, but I don't know what I was trying to accomplish with my twos. I basically thought, I'm gonna apply maximum punishment to somebody who's drawing here. I think that was really what I was thinking, is I wanted to apply maximum punishment. And when I just get called here, now I'm calling any bet, right? So I've priced myself into calling every river. Like, this river could be an ace, and I'm still calling it. So, blanks the river, and he checks. Now, the question is whether or not I could have gotten paid, right? The question is whether or not I could have gotten paid by ace-king. That his specific hand, if I make a bet. But the problem that I have is, if he does check, right, and he wasn't willing to let go of a good 9, say he has king 9 or ace 9, and he wasn't willing to let go. And I do bet he's never letting go for 1200. Like maybe he's just saying, okay, John, you're betting I have something, then you bet again, but I'm letting you know I have something. So my Jack 9, while it is relatively strong against most of his cards, there is a small percentage of the time he has a better 9 than I do, something that he's not willing to go all in with right this second based on how strong I've been betting, but he's also not willing to let go of because he's just that type of player. So I think I'm okay with just checking behind. With his exact hand, I guess it's possible that I could have bet and he would have been priced in just to see if I was bluffing. But I guess it doesn't work out that way. So fine. So now he's crippled, sort of crippled, I guess, because the blinds are still relatively small. I mean, he still does have 15 big blinds, so he does have a stack that he can run up. But we are sitting in first place, which is always fun. Tuna sent me this this new, what do you want to call it? Let's see. Yeah, Tuna sent me this new program which I can record with. I guess the last video that I posted was kind of choppy, so if you watched it, I apologize. But basically, I guess the way that this video records is a little bit better image quality and processing speed than the other program that I had called XSplit. And I didn't pay for XSplit. Anybody who's ever used XSplit maybe has the version that they pay for, but I didn't pay for XSplit, so maybe I got the shitty version, and that's probably why my quality was that bad. But this, I've done some practice videos today just to see how the speed was going to come out, and there's some really cool things that you can do with this video. So I may try to incorporate some of the extras that Camtasia has for you to do. Like you can do fun stuff with audio, you can do fun stuff with fly-ins. There's all kinds of fun stuff that you can do. So if I have time and I can edit this video and I want to put some effort into it, then maybe when I go back, I'll go ahead and I guess try and play with it. I don't want to mess it up. I told you I'm brand new with this software, but we'll see. Again, it looks like the style that I've tried to adopt in this tournament, where I'm raising big pre, I'm getting super aggressive, betting 3/4 pot and pot size bets, is a throwback to playing poker in 2003. And I really feel like the whole style of poker that people are playing, which is seeing a lot of flops, playing small ball, I think the way that I'm playing poker right now is really designed the way that Doyle Brunson used to play poker, and that is really putting your opponents to major tests, betting your hands very strongly, not leaving any ambiguity on whether or not your hand is good, because players now are a lot more likely to test you when they do have a stack. They're a lot more likely to be raising you late or check calling you late, just because now with players playing poker like they're sort of on autopilot, they're basically turning around and saying, we expect you to c-bet, we expect you to bet third pot, we expect to be raising all of your cutoffs, we expect you to be raising your buttons. So there's so many expectations as to your style of play that it's almost monotonous, and players are kind of just looking you up, especially when they have the chips to look you up. So by me adopting this style, at least for this tournament, just trying it out and showing it to you, I know it's not a very good sample size, trust me. Like, I know that one tournament, I'm sitting here with 13K chips, there's a lot of players at the table with, the amount of chips they could double through me, they could be the chip leader, they have more than half the chips that I have, so it's not like I have an astronomical amount of chips. But if you take a look back at this video and you take a look at the way that I was making my bets, a lot of players probably would have bet those hands a lot differently, and maybe not made the amount of chips that I made by making the same bets, or betting in the same spots, and possibly could have gotten outdrawn in a few different spots as well. So I guess I'm by being aggressive, I'm also max protecting. I'm playing the most defense by making big raises, and I think it's going to confuse some people. And until we get to a point where somebody adjusts, which I don't know that anybody here at the table is going to make an adjustment outside of, say, Rosie or Jason. Not selling anybody else short, but I do know that Jason is capable of making adjustments. I do know that Rosie, is a round poker enough and has played enough to where she can make adjustments. As long as I don't do it too much and I use it sparingly, and I use, it's not like I'm in there raising 40% of the time to 300 chips when the blinds are 30-60, right? I'm only doing it, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 15 times. So it is the absolute true definition of tight aggressive. Now, what are we going to do here? Am I just going to call? All right, so remember what I told you about DeCarlo? I just never think DeCarlo's doing this with ace-7, right? Like, is DeCarlo ever raising with ace-7? Is DeCarlo ever raising with king-10? I just don't think so. So I know I'm behind, so I know even though I have an ace, I can comfortably fold. Even though I'm in position on DeCarlo, I can just get rid of my hand because I know I'm behind. Now, if it was just DeCarlo and me, and I knew I was going to be in position the whole time, that'd be one thing. I think me and him is shoving light here. I think shoving with like a king-jack. Or maybe even worse, maybe like a queen-10 me and him is shoving with. So DeCarlo obviously calls the 400 chip raise. Obviously makes a pretty strong half pot size bet because I really do believe he has something good like ace-king. Yeah, so there we go. So DeCarlo's in there with an awesome hand, sweating a jack. Oh, buddy. Oh, man. Man, you know what? I mean, there's not much you could do, right? I mean, what are you gonna do? You re-raise pre-flop, you get re-raise, you get 4-bet. You just call the 4-bet, which ends up working out in your favor because you get Darryl L here to call. So there's more money in the middle. Then you get to isolate by making a half pot size bet. So Darryl L goes away. So you have extra equity in the pot. Unfortunately, that's extra equity for me and him. And, you did it with top pair, top kicker. So it's just the worst. I mean, it's just such a bad beat, Can I bet here? Can I represent a queen? I think I can. I think if Lady Rosie has anything, she's going to call. I don't think DeCarlo's going to be calling me light. Will DeCarlo peel again? What is DeCarlo's limping range? I think DeCarlo has a jack, to be quite honest with you. And if DeCarlo has a jack, that 9 didn't hurt DeCarlo. I think it helps DeCarlo's range. So I think I can comfortably check. Yeah, so I really think that 9 helped DeCarlo's range a lot. Even could very possibly have the nuts here, so I think I could just get rid of it. So DeCarlo has shown on 2 different occasions in this video, yeah, see, look, DeCarlo's in here with, basically the nuts, betting pot when he hits the nuts. Very nice hand. I mean, this is the type of thing that, you take notes on a guy like this, or you just sort of know that, I guess you could say you're just happy that he's acting here before you, because you can be making some pretty shitty moves. Like say DeCarlo has that hand and I'm in the small blind with ace high, right? Say I'm in the small blind with ace high and DeCarlo is in the big blind, so DeCarlo's to my left. He's always calling with king 10 when I make my raise pre, right? And, he's flopping an awesome draw. And, and now I'm just punishing myself by betting out of position. So I'm very happy with my seat here with DeCarlo just sitting right here on my right. Ace 3, am I raising? You know what, I think I'm limping. I wasn't willing to raise. I feel like I told you my raises are going to be huge when I am raising. So I'm fine. Now, when I limp, what do people think I have? All right, you know, Queen Jack. So I think I can bet this. You know, king. I could very easily represent a king. And look, he's showing. I'm getting shown a 3 as if to say, you know, I'm making a big laydown, bud. You know what? I had a better 3 than you. So how's that sound? You know, you can call me with your 3 if you want to, buddy. It's up to you. 7-8 suited, the exact type of hand that I didn't want to get involved with last time. I do get a limp here out of Fernando 11-25. I really don't have a read on Fernando, so I am going to raise it up here. Again, do I think Fernando's calling me? All day, every day. I do think Fernando's calling me. So, you know, the question is whether or not I'm going to continue. So here I am flopping basically, not a bad flop, but probably the worst flop for me. And, you know, with 2 bets ahead of me or in front of me, I'm not even going to pretend that I can continue with the hand. Darrell L, you know, called my 300 bet pre-flop, which turns out 300 bet was probably only 4x or a little less than 4x. So maybe I should have raised a little bit bigger. But seeing all those Broadway cards out there, now I know exactly where I am with my 7-8. Like, you know, I know I'm not up against 9-10 in this spot. So I'm happy just folding. And Fernando here, you know, calling pre-flop and just snap calling in position here with a flush, okay, and checking his flush. Really? So Fernando is limping. I have to take a note. Limping early position with any 2 cards, any 2 suited cards. Granted, has, you know, something like 200 bigs at the time. Checks flush on river in position for some strange reason. Tricky. So I don't think either Fernando doesn't understand poker. Like maybe Fernando's new to this, you know, like maybe, you know, the fact that he has his own little custom avatar here kind of tells me, you know, hey, look, maybe he's not that new to this. And the fact that he also is stacking a bunch of chips also tells me maybe he's not that new to this. But the board didn't pair, so he's not up against a, in this hand, he's not up against, yeah, so really he only loses to a queen high or a jack high flush. Oh, the board does pair. Oh. I stand corrected, Fernando. Sorry, bud. Sorry, so you're just being conservative. Super conservative, but conservative to say the least. Plus, Darrell L kind of was pushing as if to say, you know, I could have hit a set, I could have a full house already. So Fernando maybe has more of an understanding on when to bet and when to check than I gave him credit for. So I apologize. What does $400 do for you? I guess it gets 9s to call you. What the hell was Fernando calling with? I guess you can't really fold 400 if you hit a 9. Maybe he had 5-6. I guess we're going to get a chance to see. So Fernando's just giving chips away. Yeah, so Fernando had the nut flush draw, which is fine, and hits the 9, and Joe the Rug somehow knows to just make a small bet and get 9s to call, because that's pretty much all that's going to call him. I don't think a 6 calls. Obviously a 3 or 4 doesn't call. So, So I think we're in a spot in the tournament where we just have way too many chips for the blinds and exactly where they are right now. We just have way too many chips. Just way too many chips. Like, I've got, you know, 170 bigs. You know, everybody else is sitting around 100 bigs, except for Darrell L. And it's still a lot. Like, it's just still a lot of chips. So, what's my range here? Am I getting involved with, you know, ace 4? No. I think my range still is going to be, You know, any Broadway cards I'm going to be raising with. I've been known to get a stack, like say I'll get a double stack, you know, early on in a tournament, and my style, I'll kind of slow down a little bit. Like, I've kind of done my job, right? So I started the tournament with 5,000 chips. Everybody starts a tournament with 5,000 chips. That's fine. But, you know, everybody's goal is to kind of put themselves in a good position for the middle of the tournament. So the middle of the tournament is probably when there's like, you know, 10 or 11 players left. Let's just take a look at the lobby real quick. So 22 places played. So you want to have a good stack when there's, you know, when we're 12-handed. And I've put myself in a position where I'm fine. Like, I don't need to get out of line. So I think what I'm going to do more than anything else is play my position. I think that's probably the smartest thing I can do right now, is even though, like, say I get a good hand that is playable, like a king jack suited, all right? Not that that's a really good hand, but I think I'm going to be a little tighter with my king jack suiteds when I'm out of position. When I'm dealing with a table that literally has 100 big blinds for everybody. So stealing is going to be a lot harder to do. This is an example of me obviously raising. When Rosie raises, right? I'm putting her on a good hand. You know, I don't think she's in there raising with nothing. When Fernando 3-bets, you know, Fernando's shown in the past couple hands a pretty decent understanding of poker. I don't know if he's re-raising to isolate or if he's re-raising because he has a good hand. If he's re-raising to isolate, like say he has a hand like it would be devastating if he has a hand like Ace Jack of clubs, right? If he has Ace Jack of clubs, this would just be terrible fold because he's trying to isolate. If he has pocket tens, it's just like a terrible fold because he's trying to isolate. So I'm just going to, until further notice, I'm going to give him credit for understanding how to play poker. And I'm going to see what Lady Rosie's min raising under the gun. Is it good enough to call a 3-bet? And we'll see. No. And also something that I just said, I want to get involved in pots, right? But I want to be doing it in position. So if Fernando's making that re-raise and I'm on the button with ace-queen, I think I'm probably 50% more to call than I would be otherwise. So being out of position, also with probably getting Rosie to call. If I call, I wonder if Rosie calls. I wonder if Rosie had a hand like 7-8 of diamonds and min raises, and if I call, then Rosie's kind of priced in to make the call. I wonder if that's the way that hand would have gone. I guess we'll never know. Rosie, if you're watching this video, please comment and tell me what you had in that spot, because it'd be really fun to find out if you actually folded a monster. Like maybe she had ace queen as well. You know, maybe she just made a super tight laydown. So who knows? I overplayed ace king in the last video, right? So I think I got like 2 or 3 limpers just like this, and I completely overplayed ace king. And I went all in because I had 50 bigs and I just wanted to win the pot. Here I get to raise big again. I'm going to raise to 400. And I'm not going to overplay my kings. I'm just going to make sure I raise to where I know I'm up against a decent hand. When Jason calls here out of the big blind, I'm putting him on jacks. I'm putting him on jacks exactly. So the question is whether or not I'm going to get a call or if I bet. And I think the question is whether or not I'm going to get a call if I bet. I think I'm just going to bomb it and put everybody to the test. I mean, I'm trying to figure out a world where I fold. So Fernando calls, and I think I'm going to bomb it again. I think I'm okay with just bombing it. Maybe he's drawing. Yeah, so I know I'm up against a flush. I just knew it. Actually, I was up against 2 pair and a flush, so I was way worse. So Fernando we just took a note on the guy that he's limping with any two suited cards, and he's willing to be calling raises with those suited cards, and he's not willing to give up. I mean, this is one of those situations where you just have too many chips. Like the guy just, when you have a player that just wants to call and wants to call and wants to call, then I'm dealing with in a spot where there's not an amount of chips that I can bet to get him to fold. Now, what's interesting is that he turns 2-pair and chooses not to raise my $4,200 bet. That's kind of interesting, because he has to know that he's ahead. And if he doesn't know that he's ahead, then he's got to be putting me on exactly pocket kings, which is weird, but he needs to be raising. This guy, Fernando, absolutely 100% needs to be raising the turn in this spot. So he flops a pair and a flush draw, so fine. So you're never folding the hand, I get it. Then he turns 2-pair. Granted, it's bottom 2-pair, but it's 2-pair. So, I guess maybe he just wanted to make sure. Like I said, some people just want to be sure that that they have the hand that they want to play. And then he checks the diamonds to me. That's another spot where he was just not sure where he was in the hand because of, I guess, the way I was betting it, or maybe he thought I was going to bomb it again. But he's got to know that I'm never betting the diamond. So, just an unfortunate run out of cards where he turns 2-pair and rivers a flush. And I have done enough to where I have accumulated enough chips to where I'm not in horrible position. I'm still, in the upper half of the players. I'm 6 of 16. Fernando does end up, obviously, as a chip leader here. I'm going to do what I can to get my chips back, but I'm not going to force it. I think a lot of players will force it in that spot, but I'm definitely not going to force it. So me and him goes from, having 900 chips to being right back in it with 4,000 chips. And that's another situation where, Tuna's just given everybody so many fucking chips that it's like, you can really make some major mistakes in this game, and you're still fine, I mean, me and him literally made 2 terrible calls for 80% of his chip stack, and still had 15 big blinds to where he could be fighting. And, I have to remember that as a player too. I think I need to be learning and saying, okay, even though I just lost, 6,000 chips, I'm fine. I'm more than fine. I have a ton of chips. I have 90 bigs, 80 bigs maybe, but I'm totally fine. Rosie is half pot size betting with nothing out there. Like, there's no draws out there. The 10 doesn't complete any draws. So, there's no reason to be betting so much, I don't think. Like, I don't think Rosie needs to bet half pot when the 10 comes off. I think if she has a pretty strong hand, I think she can get away with betting like 675. Maybe Rosie doesn't want callers. But here I am preaching a style where you're betting pot, and so I probably shouldn't be telling Rosie she needs to bet less. But in a spot where she has a really strong hand and she's trying to accumulate in her own way, I don't think that Jason can call pretty much, unless Jason has 2-pair, I don't think Jason can just call, 1,000 chip bet on a board that dry. So yeah, so Rosie just limps, Jason raises. So maybe she's putting Jason on, say, maybe she's putting Jason on a big hand, like an overpair, and she wants to put Jason to the test. Yeah, maybe that's exactly what she's doing. She's saying, if you have an overpair, you're going to pay this off. So, okay, so I get it. Would have been sick if I played the 2-4 there, huh? So, I guess we're at a point in the tournament where we're starting to get comfortable with the way people are playing. We've played probably about 20 or 30 hands together, maybe more. We haven't had any new players come to the table. So there's no new introduction outside of maybe Fernando, who was kind of new maybe 10, 15 hands ago. But that is about it. Everybody's kind of got a pretty good feel on how people are playing. Do I want to bet here? I don't think I have to bet here. I think I can be check calling in this spot a lot. Plus, no one is going to... If I am check calling, it does look like I may have a 10. I think you need to have a really... See, okay, when me and him just bets 100 here, like, I'm always raising this. I'm raising it mostly because I don't want Fernando calling behind with, like, Queen Jack. I don't want him calling behind with... Well, I guess I'm okay with him calling with Queen Jack. And I can fold the scary turns because I'm only investing 100 chips. I think I can do that. I think I can just call, knowing I can get away with just a king with a bad kicker. So when Fernando snap calls, I'm just not going to give me and him that much credit until he shows me a hand. So I think I'm just check calling pretty much any bet unless he just bombs it. Yeah. Alright, so me and him shows up with a 10. Nice hand. Nice hand. You know what? I'm not mad at the way he played the hand. I think I could have, based on my read, like, even though I trusted my read and I trusted my gut, my hand had some showdown value. And I think when you have a little bit of showdown value in your hand, you don't have to force your opponent to fold all the time. Now, when DeCarlo raises to 300 here, against any other player, I'm re-raising. But I'm okay with just folding and letting Darrell call and Joe the Rug call and watching them check, watching DeCarlo make a half pot size bet, and watching two folds. So yeah, so it pretty much goes without saying that, you know, when you're limping here and you're just calling pre-flop, it's just terrible. It's just terrible in so many ways. Like this style that people have here, like this Fernando guy is just straight limping all the time, and he has the amount of chips that I guess you would want to be limping with. I think I can raise to 350. Rosie's folding. I don't bluff. May call because he's sticky. And now I get to represent an ace. And I've been bombing, so far I'm gonna bomb again. Now, I don't think that I want to bomb again. This guy's shown that he's just gonna call me down with whatever. I'll give him credit for an ace. I'll give him credit for an ace. There's really very little I can do when a player has all of the chips, right? So a player has all of the chips, you know, just wants to limp. You know, there's nothing really that you can bet pre-flop that's going to force them out. And when that player hits top pair and they're just in check call mode, like, you really need to watch your bluffs. Like, I very easily could have put in a second bet on the turn. But knowing a little bit about Fernando, I'm saying he doesn't seem like the type of player that wants to fold. You know, he's already called pre-flop. He's already called a bomb on the flop. Other than a flush draw, I don't think he's calling with an 8. So when he checks it to me, I think he's got an ace. And, you know, my image is that I have shown that I don't slow down when people call. So if I do check, he's expecting me to bet. So I think I did myself a huge favor by not trying to bluff that hand. I think old Johnny probably would have tried to fire a second bullet. If Fernando limps here again, I'm going to be raising big. Like, I'm going to be raising to 600 or 550. I don't know if this is a bad bet or a good bet, but what I will say is this is for straight value. Like I need to just get straight value on my pocket pairs. I could raise to 200-300 and get 3 callers. I'm much rather happier going heads up in the spot. So the question is whether or not I'm going to bet. And I think I'm going to bet an amount. These people, they're just testing. They're just testing me. They're just testing. So for pot control purposes only, I chose not to bomb, but I will bomb the 2. Because the 2 can't help. If me and him is willing to all-in bluff bet here, like if that's really what this person is capable of doing, then they're just a better player than I am. So Fernando, if he just called me down with a flush draw, ace high, and he hits the ace, I'm going to be really upset. Yeah, I don't think I can call. I mean, the question is whether or not I can bet, and I don't think there's an amount that I can bet that's going to get him to fold. So I'm just going to check. Yeah, when you have a player that is just not willing to fold, there's nothing you can do. Like, there's nothing you can do. You know, I'm glad that I pot controlled I'm glad I did what I did, right? Like, say I just bomb the flop. If I bomb the flop, a player like Fernando is running so hot. Like, in his mind, he's sitting there like, oh my God, I'm running so good. I'm the king of the world. There's nothing I can do. No one can stop me. I'm the man. I'm the king of the table. I'm running over everybody. You're going to have to show me a better hand. And that's the attitude that these players get sometimes. And that's one of the reasons why I'm just not going to be... I'm going to be punishing people for having that mentality. It just turns out that the run of cards that Fernando's had has been 1 pip, 1 card better than me. Pretty much, 3-4 hands, So I just need to be patient, right? Like, I just need to... Right? Like, I just need to and just say, look, you got a player who has all the chips in the world. There's nothing you can do, right? Like, what are you going to do? He's playing every hand. Like, he's pretty much playing every hand. And I've got an issue because I'm playing 8-handed, so it's not like I could just shove on. It's not like we're playing 4-handed. He's playing this game as if to say, I'm just going to limp. I'm just going to limp. I'm going to keep limping. And I have to figure out what I'm going to do to defend it. And I also don't want to run into a big hand behind me. Like, I don't want to just shove with, like, say, pocket 9s and find out, that, I run into somebody wakes up with a huge hand. I mean, you're probably looking at yourself thinking, Fernando is leading out 100. Oh, my God, did I have a 7? I guess I can't really be results-oriented. I'm never playing 6-7, but... Yeah, and then checking full houses, like, the guy just probably doesn't know exactly why what he's doing is working. Like, if I said to Fernando, can you tell me why your style of play is profitable? He'd probably say, because I have chips. Well, no, what you're doing actually, like, you're making major mistakes. And, well, I shouldn't say major mistakes, because you're well within your rights. Okay, so fine. So we're playing No Limit Hold'em. Okay, so in No Limit Hold'em, no one can tell you how to play. And I guess I need to remember that. But nobody can tell Fernando to play a certain style. But like this, I'm just gonna call you down style can't last. Like, it just can't. It can't last. This check call, check call, check call. What do you expect to accomplish? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he calls and loses. Because he doesn't understand why he's doing what he's doing. He's just saying, I'm running hot, people are bluffing into me, this is going to last forever, and I need to just hopefully get a hand where I could take advantage of this. When Diarlel limps here, I don't know if it slows me down, because I was going to raise pre. I don't know what I'm going to do if Fernando raises. I think I can just fold if Fernando raises. You know, I have to show the patience that I said I was going to show. What is Darrell limping with? What do you guys think Darrell is limping with in early position? You know, like maybe Darrell sees that by just limping, he can make sure that he gets involved in a hand here. Maybe Darrell, you know, has a hand like Jack 10 suited, you know, or, you know, pocket fours. I can't imagine what this guy's tanking with, but that's fine. Do what you got to do. So it looks like we have a few seconds here. I'm going to grab myself something to drink. So let's take a look at the lobby real quick, see where we're at. So I'm sitting in 12th position out of 15 players. I think when you have 22 players, the top 4 get points. So obviously you can't make the top 4 until you final table. So that's the plan, is just make the final table, figure out how I'm going to get enough chips to do that. When DiCarlo raises, what do we know? Right? What do we know? We're folding. So the question is, what's Darrell limping with? So Darrell is limp calling God knows what. I honestly am putting Darrell on pocket 4s or 5s. That's what I'm putting him on. So I expect him to check. And I expect me and him to min bet. Yep. And DiCarlo's going to call and Darrell might call. Yeah. So I'm still putting Darrell on pocket 4s or 5s. So when me and him makes this $400 bet, it really puts DiCarlo to the test, because DiCarlo might have queens here, you know, and might just be deciding, do I want to get sticky with queens? And Darrell has to fold here. And, you know, I think DiCarlo may look this guy up with like jacks or queens. Well, now that the 3 pops off, if DiCarlo folds queens, I'd be impressed. $500 into 20. You have to win this hand 1 out of 5 times. If you had the notes that I had on this guy, you'd probably call. Although, it's just weird. Maybe he has a 3. Maybe he just backdoored a 3. Or maybe... Okay, so he shows up with an ace, and we'll go ahead and take a look at what DiCarlo looked him up with. Nice hand. Yeah, queens. So DiCarlo has exactly queens. I think I have to raise big here. I'll raise to 450. Maybe I get raised? I'm just wishful thinking. I'm never getting raised. Huh. Question is whether or not I should just call. Now, I'm going to leave this up to you guys. If you're watching this video, are you just calling here? So if I just call, right, that leaves me with 2,800 chips, and it'll be 1,800 in the middle. So it's just too much. It's just too much in the middle for me to be... Oh, wow, he had a good hand. Wow, I got really lucky. Dodging a queen. Alright. So, obviously, I get really lucky to flop an ace, but I think it's debatable. I think I obviously made the most amount of money, because if I shove, like say I flat call, right? So say in this hand, this is really interesting spot, and I'd be interesting to hear what you guys have to say about this hand. So I raised to 450, which really isn't a bad raise. Like even if I raised to 360, you know, or even 300. I think 450 looks a little bluffier than it is, and so I think that's why I don't bluff's raise is a lot smaller, because he wants to make sure that he gets called by a bad hand. Like, he probably thinks I'm doing that with pretty much either any ace or something silly like king 10. I give Jason a lot of credit as a player. Jason is I don't bluff 111. I don't think he gets out of line. I think he's extremely creative. I think this is just like a super cooler spot where, you know, the small and the big blind end up having, like, you know, two super big hands. And I have just the right amount of chips to where I can overshove instead of 4-bet. And I have just the right amount of chips where I don't think I can just call, leaving myself 2,800 chips when there's 1,800 chips out there. Like, I think I need to make sure that I see the turn and the river with a hand like ace king. And I'm willing to run with it. So the question remains, when he raises to 900, he raises exactly 450 more. Are you ever in your life just calling, knowing the structure of the tournament, right? So the structure of the tournament says if I just call, right, 900, I leave myself 2,800 chips. Say I whiff, say the flop is 997, right, and I actually put I don't bluff on a pair. And I check, and he, you know, either goes all in or makes a strong bet. I have 2,800 chips left. The blinds are only at 120, so that leaves me with about 25 bigs. I think I can comfortably fold. So it's just a really weird spot for me to be in, and I think I was just willing to show him also. Now, actually, I don't think at the time I was willing to show him, but I think a consequence of this, of me actually calling, is, you know, obviously I have to call and win, right? So I call and I win. But also the next time that I raise, right, he knows I'm not in there fucking around, and I'm going to follow through. Like, if you want to re-raise me, I'm obviously just going to follow through. So it shows a little bit of my table image as well. I got super lucky in that hand to double up through Jason. He's the type of player that can turn his 4,400 chips into, you know, 8,000 chips very quickly, especially with this group here. Me and him is probably the leakiest player at the table, and I say leaky respectfully. You know, if you're watching, I'm not mad at the way that you play, but you do put chips in the middle sometimes in spots where I don't think you have to. Although I will give you credit for flopping trip aces and somehow getting paid by queens. Well, I guess it's not hard to get paid by queens, but by betting just the perfect amount, like, you know, fifths pot size betting the river with trips, I think you bet the perfect amount for queens to look you up. So what are we going to do, right? Like how are we going to run our chip stack up? Because obviously 7,500 chips is not enough chips. Like, we can't sit here and just rest because we have 60 bigs. So how are we going to run our chip stack up, and what's our range now? I don't think our range changes a whole lot, but I have to keep in mind that I am 7-handed, so I can get away with playing a little looser than I was if I was 9-handed. I also have some smaller stacks to my left, which is always fun when I am making my raises in position. So I know that I have two players that are not going to knock me out of the tournament if they do decide to push on me. What is Jason betting here, pot size, against me and him, unless Jason has a read saying me and him's going to call pretty much any bet. So unless Jason knows that he's going to get called, I don't see why he'd be betting, you know, so much. Well, like I said, Jason's the type of player who's creative. Maybe he's taking the same notes. Because me, like, when I'm up against this me and him 628, like, and I say I flop top pair, or I flop, like, something strong, I'm never just betting, like, 300. I'm always just bombing and punishing people who are willing to draw. So, and he's one of the players that's willing to draw. This Fernando character, on the other hand, he's just going to be tough to beat. You know, like, he was just sitting out, so he hasn't played a hand in a while, but that's an illusion, right? Like, he's only been sitting out because he was disconnected, and it looks like he might even disconnect again. So it looks like he slowed down, but his game really hasn't slowed down at all. It's just his computer saying you can't play hands right now. Don't think I'm going to call here with 10 high, and I think it's pretty easy to not call. So I'm just going to click fold. So what do you guys think of this 2003 mentality that I have? Obviously it's dangerous. Obviously it's scary when you're bluffing, right? So like say your bluffing is a big part of your game, you know, and bluffing should be a big part of your game. Like if you aren't good at bluffing, it's something that you absolutely should practice. Like there's things that you should practice in poker. You should practice patience, right? You should practice waiting for good hands. You should practice discipline, right? So you should really be practicing making decent folds, you know, folding 2 river raises when you only have 1 pair, even if it's top pair. You should start to, you know, even if you're making folds that are, say, incorrect, just the fact that you're willing to practice making folds, it's a skill, you know? So you're practicing your patience, waiting for good hands. You're practicing your discipline, you know, folding hands that are, you know, kind of strong, you know, or, you know, even draws, like when you have big draws, making big folds. What do I want to do here? I think I'm okay. The question is, am I going to call a raise if Jason raises? And I think I am. I flop 0 equity here. So I'm just going to check. If I had any overs, like say the flop came Jack 6-7, I'm probably betting this flop just with my over. But with no overs, I don't think I can bet it. And this is super profitable. Like this is when me and him style is really going to win him a lot of chips, when he limps the button and min bets the flop. When he's limping button and min betting flop against players that have 0 equity, which is going to happen a lot of the time, you know, me and him is just going to be making super plus EV plays and winning that hand probably 70% of the time. And even if he does get called, he's in position and can make decisions on a lot of turns, and maybe there's a lot of turns that help him. I think this is a raise, but I'm going to try and take a page out of me and him's book, and I'm just going to call with the plan of min betting pretty much any flop and seeing what how my opponents react to that. Well, I guess I don't have an opportunity to do that. Pretty much have to just say, you know, tip your hat, say, all right, Jason, you got it, kid. Throw your hand away. But again, my plan really was to try a move. So I'm limping with Queen 4, but I'm limping with Queen 4 with a plan on what I'm going to do on the river. I'm not just like, you know, LOL, I have a suited queen, I'm just going to call. There's a plan for a line or a play that I'm going to make. And that leads me to the third thing that you should be practicing, which is aggression. So you should obviously be practicing your patience and your discipline. You should also be practicing your aggression. So, you know, if you're not a really aggressive style player, it's something that you should have in your repertoire. You should absolutely be making pot-sized bets every once in a while. You know, even if it's for small stakes. Like say you're playing, you know, 5 cent, 10 cent, and you're not used to overbetting the pot. Or you're not used to making a 4x raise pre-flop. And I say 4x like 4 times whatever the big blind is or 5 times whatever the big blind is. Or you're not used to firing 2 bullets. A huge part of aggression is continuing your aggression on later streets. There's like pretty much any knucklehead cannot look at his cards in a tournament, raise pre-flop, and c-bet on most flops. When you get called on flops and the turn comes, that's when the balls kind of come into play, I think. I think that's where most people's aggression factor starts to drop drastically. Like, I think it sort of plateaus where 80% of poker players now in today's game are c-betting any flop that they raise, right? So on turns, I think it drops drastically. I think maybe 30%. I'm guessing. I don't have a HUD, but if I had to take a look at my experience playing poker, I'm probably saying, yeah, I think maybe 30% when they get called after a c-bet are continuing to fire that second bullet. So that's a part of your aggression factor that I think you should be practicing as well. Obviously, you've seen my bets. You've seen I will bomb turns, I will bomb rivers, I will... You know, I don't feel like that's a part of my game that needs to be honed. I think if there is a part of my game that needs to be honed, it probably could be my patience. I think there's been a lot of tournaments in my life where, you know, I've been playing for 2, 3, 4 hours, and on that 4th hour, you know, I haven't had a hand in the past 90 minutes or in the past, you know, 30 hands or in the past 3 orbits. and my patience just goes right out the window, and I start playing 8-6 suited. Not that that's a bad thing, but I start maybe overvaluing the hand and betting when I don't have equity. So I really need to be patient, and I think that's something that I absolutely have to work on in these videos and also in live tournaments as well. It's a little easier to be patient here when you're playing online for obvious reasons. Is this a raise? I think this is a raise. I think I can min bet this comfortably knowing that it looks fishy. I think a min bet from early position is the strongest raise in poker. Like this raise right here looks so strong. You know, not everybody is going to care that it looks strong, but just between you and me, I think it just looks super strong. This couldn't be a worse flop. So I'm not even going to pretend to have hit this flop. With the players that I have in this hand, Fernando calling whatever the fuck he wants, and me and him calling whatever the fuck he wants, I don't think I'm even going to pretend to have hit this flop. Darrell might want to take a stab at this, 400 maybe, 400 chips. I think he's thinking about 400 chips. Yeah, I just, this Fernando guy, I don't think he's bluffing. I just don't think he's ever folded a hand. Yeah, Darrell, listen, if you're watching the video, I'm not mad at you, all right? It just checked around to you twice. So if you're a regular poker player, you don't even have to be really good. If something gets checked to you twice and you don't at least try to win the pot, I think it's overall not a good play. I think you have to be trying to win that pot. 600 is not a bad bet when you're just trying to take a stab at it. Do I want to raise here? I don't think I do. Yeah, I don't think I do. So here's a spot where I feel like I can absolutely be betting with my 1 over. I can absolutely be betting this pot. I wonder if Fernando's going to put me to the test. I think he is. You know, obviously I can't just call here, right? Because it's just too many chips for me to just call. So I'm either all in or I fold, and all in seems really bad. So, you know, I'm just trying to take a stab at the pot. It didn't work out. And Fernando's just re-raised a half pot size bet twice in a row. So he's getting super aggressive. So I really need to just find cards that I can jam. Like, I think all of us are thinking the same thing. Like, I think everybody in this tournament is thinking the exact same thing. Like, I need to find cards that I can jam. Two overs and a backdoor flush. I maybe could have bet this. DeCarlo bets this. Am I calling? Yeah, I only have 150 chips invested in this pot, so it's going to go away. Oh, that's so gross. So Fernando is where we're going to get our chips from. Like, I think that's just it. Like, we're just going to have to get our chips from Fernando because he's just calling every bet, raising everything, you know, basically putting everybody to the test. And I think that his bets are getting through because we're just not used to it. Like DeCarlo might just say, I'm sorry, I don't have a flush. Like, I don't think DeCarlo has a flush. So Fernando's just going to get to do, he's literally going to run the table over until somebody stops him. And I'm willing, like, please give me some cards. Like, I'm willing to put my entire tournament at risk light against a player like him. I'm absolutely willing to do it. Darrell's been known to defend his bigs. I'm not mad at him defending his big. I have to bet. A lot of players are betting third pot. I told you I'm going back to 2003 poker. If I'm going to be betting, I'm going to be betting bigger than half pot. This is the type. This is perfect. So I hope Fernando just limps. Like, I really need him to just limp. Oh! Ah, come on! One time! One time I need him to limp. Just once with my pocket kings. Come on, Fernando. What happened, bro? You were so good. Alright, well, this will have to do. So, I'm never checking, right? So, the question is, what is me and him going to call? And I think half pot maybe he'll call. I guess not. That's so gross, man. This guy has been limping every single time, calling every single pre-flop raise, right? Every single one. I get a hand like pocket. You know what? I'm not mad. I'm just talking out loud, I guess. Obviously, I'm talking out loud, but can you imagine, like, you're sitting here and you're saying to yourself, "Oh man, you know this guy. Like, I can't wait to get in a hand of that. Like, I just can't wait. Like, this is why I play poker. Like, I want to punish people. Like, I want to inflict max pain to bad players making gross mistakes. Like, that's why I play the game. I don't play the game for shiny trophies. You know, I don't play the game because you put an extra, $100 in my account because I came in third. I play the game because I want players to make gross mistakes, and I want to be the one who makes them make those mistakes. I don't know why. Maybe it's a little narcissistic, but like, I want to inflict that pain. Like that's the part of the game that I enjoy the most. So between you and me, I mean, it really burns. Even if Fernando folds to my flop bet, like say Fernando calls my raise, calls my 450 or whatever, and folds to my flop bet, I'm still fine. Like, I just wanted to get him to be the limper, the caller, and I want those chips. I don't want these chips or these chips. I want his chips. This is the guy who's going to double us up today. I don't think I had a 9. I had a 3. We haven't really seen it, but something I think is worth talking about is when we're seeing, first of all, we have enough chips in this tournament where we're seeing a lot of rivers multi-way. Like, there's been a lot of multi-way rivers, and it's just the nature of the structure of the tournament. But like, say this bet gets raised, right? Say I don't bluff raises to 1,000. I never think I don't bluff is bluffing. Like, when you're dealing with these small buy-in tournaments, or you're dealing with, I guess, not super meta level thinkers, you're only dealing with, like, I guess, normal players who, have everyday jobs that aren't professional players. I think when a bet gets raised, and when a bet gets re-raised on the river, it's just rarely a bluff. Like, it's just very, very rarely a bluff. Like, when Fernando makes this bet of 370 into a 750 board, I think he can do so knowing that he's just never getting raised. I think I can just call here with super good implied odds, and a lot of times I just have the best hand. Yeah, I know that he's been doing this all night. Yeah, so and checks the full house? I mean, does the guy even know he has a full house? I mean, if you're watching this, what does that tell you about this player, right? Like, what does that say to you when he rivers a full house and all I'm doing is calling? Maybe he's putting me on a 7. Like, he has to be putting me on a 7 in order not to bet. Like, that's the only thing he can put me on. I think I can check here. I think I'm in check calling mode. I think when he bets 300, I still have the best hand a lot of the time. And the question is, am I willing to continue on most turns? And I think I am. I wonder if he slows down. The question is, I think I'm gonna try a move here. I'm gonna check. He's gonna bet. I'm gonna raise it. And I think he can only call to a chop. So a lot of players will just call, but I'm putting max pressure on this guy. And I'm basically saying, I limped in, I could very well have a 7. So by me just calling, I'm always calling to get to a chop. But by me raising, I have a huge opportunity to really put the screws to I don't bluff for even having the balls to bet when he knows that I'm a good enough player to understand that there's a straight out there. Like, he has to know that I'm good enough to know that there's a straight, right? So let's take a look at this hand real quick. So basically, when this happens, all right, I've limped, okay? I can have any 2 cards when I limp here. Any 2 I want. Plus, not to mention, when he bets this flop and I just call, I probably have something that's close or connects. Then I'm in a spot where I'm checking again, so I very well could have a 5-7 or a 5-8. In other words, a 7 is very much in my range the way I'm playing the hand. So now when I check, I think what I'm doing is I'm saying to him, all right, I'm willing to chop the pot, but hang on, here we go. So by making this raise to okay, so oh god damn it. So by making this raise, I'm really testing this guy for even attempting to make a bet when he has to know that I know there's a straight out there. Like, my only mistake right there was not putting him all in, because I think that by not putting him all in, I left him like 700 chips or something like that. I think by not putting him all in, he feels like, well, whatever, fuck it, I'll still have some chips if I'm wrong. But I really did put him to the test. And I think this play, even if it gets him to fold, you know, like 30% of the time, this is such a good option than to checking, seeing a big bet, seeing the straight, feeling like, oh shit, there's already 1,000 chips out there. I don't want to lose 1,000 chips. I think I can raise big here. Well, I guess that's not really big, but I think I can raise big. So good. So we got Fernando in a hand. Thank God. DeCarlo in the hand, not happy about it. Fernando in the hand, I'm fine with it. So this is one of those spots where I'm absolutely not betting. I'm just checking. And you might say, why wouldn't you bet? I can't stand a raise. That's why. So I'm just going to check behind because my hand's not that vulnerable. Yeah, there's a suited king 9 out there, but I'm totally fine with it. Here I have to bet. So I'm going to bet on the small side. Well, if Fernando ends up calling me with a 10, that's probably the worst card. I might, Fernando very, very, very reasonably could have a 10 here. So rather than really bet for thin value, which I would do against a lot of players, I think I'm comfortable just checking, and if he has a 10, then he wins. Wow. Okay. So I don't think I was getting any money out of the kid anyway. Like, I could have bet 100 chips there. He's never calling me. Did I just fold pocket 4s? That sucks. So yeah, so I got Fernando in with a shit hand. I was able to wait until he had some sort of draw. Oh, that's so brutal. Oh, the most brutal flop for me to have folded. Oh, come on, I want my cards back. Oh, man, what a mistake. I mean, it's not like 4s is the nuts, You know, I'm under the gun, so yeah, I get it. It's not the nuts, but man, you know, you very rarely hit sets, and you only hit sets 12% of the time. And I absolutely would have played my 4s. I don't know if I was just on autopilot. I don't get it, but... So the question is whether or not I think my 10 is good. And when DeCarlo bets here, you know, it might seem like I'm DeCarlo's bitch in this video. Like, it probably thinks, like, John, you're never playing back against DeCarlo. But think about it. I have such good reason not to be playing back against DeCarlo. Like, I have nothing but good reasons. Every time he showed up with a hand. Like, he's never shown down a hand that was worse than, like, a big pair. So, you know, my 10 here is just so bad when DeCarlo's donking into this flop. Like, I think DeCarlo has a single ace. Like, I'm pretty sure DeCarlo has a single ace. We're going to take a look at that in a second. Oh, 2 pair. Yeah, so DeCarlo gets counterfeited either way. I feel like I should be raising. Again, this I don't bluff character, he will fight you for pots, and I think he picks on me. Like, I really do think he picks on me. Like, I think he knows. I should be continuation betting, but I'm gonna give I don't bluff credit until further notice, and this me and him character, I'm not giving any credit yet. Well, when they move all in, I guess there's nothing you can do. So if I don't bluff was calling me, maybe he's calling me with 8s. I don't know if he can call this bet. But I wonder if I got myself into trouble by raising against these 2 players in particular. Like, knowing that me and him get sticky, right? Like, knowing that this player right here gets sticky and doesn't want to fold, and I'm playing my Jack-10 out of position, I wonder if I got myself into trouble. Here's another spot. What are the notes that we have on Joe the Rug? I think when he limps here, I'm not putting him on, like, aces just yet. Here we are with an open-ender, but, like, the bottom end of an open-ender. I don't mind this $200 bet, but I think it's worth a raise. Because if I just call, it just looks really bad. So I think I was going to raise to 600, but I think 595 looks a little better. And when it gets checked to me, I feel like I can bomb. I mean, if I get raised all in here, I'm fine. But I feel like if Joe the Rug actually has a hand like 2 pair, I would have heard about it when I made my raise, because he's going to want to protect his 2 pair. So if I'm making a raise and he's just calling with, like, say a 9-10, then I absolutely definitely would have heard about it, because he doesn't have the amount of chips to where he can just let me draw out. It was just such a wet board. So I think I did everything I could to represent the hand that I wanted to represent. Now see this hand right here, I'm playing 6-handed, so ace-jack is a lot better. But I'm gonna go for the min raise here. I don't know why, but I think it's enough to get I don't bluff out, and I don't bluff is the only player right now that I'm sort of not wanting to get involved in a pot with. Like, I don't want to get involved with Jason, so I just want to bet enough to get him out, and then I'm comfortable playing against pretty much all the rest of the players. I know you're going to say DeCarlo, you know, I'm DeCarlo's bitch, but DeCarlo has been playing, you know, really, really well, but just the cards haven't gone their way. So if I do get min raised here, I think I'm re-raising. I don't know how all of a sudden I'm getting these walks and people are respecting my raises, but I think it is important to note that I do have everybody on the table covered by twice as much as their own chip stack. So that really puts me in a position where I should be getting a little more aggressive. You know, I shouldn't just be auto-folding six-handed when I have more than double what everybody else has, whoever my opponent is. So I think I need to realize that, but also know that some of the players know that and will be adjusting. Specifically, Jason. I haven't really heard a whole lot from Joe the Rug. Darrell L, you know, is smart enough to make stabs at pots when it checks to him twice. I got to keep that in mind. Me and him somehow still has chips in this tournament. I think he did the same thing last tournament. I have such a good bead on this player. I should be raising here, I think. I think I should be raising. Part of my problem is I will get to a point where I have the amount of chips that I feel comfortable having, and I won't make the exact correct plays that I should be making. So, for example, that spot right there where I have two limpers in front of me and I have the button, regardless of what my cards are, I could have junk, I could have 7 deuce. But as the chip leader, I'm supposed to give my opponents a chance to fold pre-flop and make a raise and put them to the test. The problem that I have is DeCarlo, when he's just limping, I don't think DeCarlo's in a spot where he's limp folding right now. I think DeCarlo's in a spot where he needs to play for some chips. So this me and him character that's limping, I'm raising for sure. Again, I only want to raise enough to where this character right here is out. I probably couldn't have flopped any better. I think if I flop ace-ace-6 or ace-ace-ace, those are the only two better flops. When me and him just leads out 200 here, I think I can comfortably just call, knowing that I'll probably get another bet later. So I'm definitely getting another bet from me and him. And I think I'm okay with just calling again. Well, why am I slow playing this hand? Why would I slow play this hand? I mean, wouldn't it be catastrophic if he's doing this with, like... Well, what could he have? I think for straight value, I think I just needed to make sure that me and him doesn't check the river. Like, the worst case scenario is I just call and me and him straight checks the river, and that's it. Here I'm going to be kind of tricky and just call, hoping that I don't bluff ships. Like, I just wanted him to ship. And it looks like he's raising, and the question is, if he gets called, am I going to re-raise? Looks like I'm not even going to get involved. So maybe, just maybe, my plan of getting this guy to put all his chips in the middle by making this move kind of works out on the back end. Looks like I probably would have gotten it all in under all circumstances. So yeah, so I don't bluff shows up with a hand here. Wow, I really dodged a bullet, didn't I? I really dodged a bullet by trying to play that way. And again, I was trying to say that, you know, this guy Jason, he doesn't get out of line. He plays his hands the right way. He didn't just auto shove pre-flop. He made a raise to 4x, which I think is completely 100% correct. He got a call from King Queen, which I don't know if I like the call. Actually, no, he got a shove from King Queen, which I hate the shove. Absolutely hate the shove, because I've limped, so I've expressed that I have some interest in the hand. So there's a possibility that I'm just calling his shove. Or I've seen a lot of players that will play tricky aces the same way. So I hate Darrell's shove there. So me and him decides that he's just going to limp button, and I think I'm okay with it. I think I can bet 400 here. If me and him wants to stick around, that's fine, because I have 2 overs. What is DeCarlo calling with? I should be firing 2 bullets here, but I don't trust DeCarlo. I don't think DeCarlo's in there with nothing. I don't think DeCarlo's in there with absolutely stone cold nothing. So I think DeCarlo leads here. Me and him may put out a small field bet of 400 just to see what DiCarlo does. Come on, man! I'm counting on this DiCarlo cat to just snap call. Oh, this is so gross. So gross. I want to look him up so bad, but I also don't want him to have any more chips. You know what? I got a chance to see the turn and river for relatively cheap, right? Right? So, you know, not all is lost. I had ace-9. I got all the way to the river for, what, 400 chips? I think I can raise here. Question is whether or not I'm going to get a call from DiCarlo. Nope. I don't think I can just call. I think calling with just queens is wrong. Basically because I know this guy's never getting out of line, so if DiCarlo doesn't flop well, it's not like he's going to be... Like if I check, like say the flop comes 9, 10, 4, right? And I check, and Jason checks over here in the big blind. If DiCarlo is fit or fold, so if he doesn't hit that flop, he's never just betting. So players are going to get a chance to see 4 cards for basically $0. Is it possible that, you know, I Don't Bluff could have picked up a card and made a bet and I could have raised him? I guess, but I think I'm comfortable just winning the pot right there. Got an all-in and a call here from... Wow, okay, so it looks like we have Jason, who's going to win a pretty substantial side pot, so he's still going to be involved. And Darrell L, who triples up. Wow. So, like I said, Jason, what did we say about a half hour ago, right? I said, you know, Jason is going to take his 4,400 chips and he's going to turn it into, you know, 8,000 chips in a half hour. So, you know, there he goes. The guy knows what he's doing, and he's not getting it in bad. So, congratulations, Jason. You know, nice hand. So we do have a couple small stacks at our table, which is always fun, because we can apply maximum pressure. This Joe the Rug character is folding his way into oblivion, and I know how that feels. I think if you've been playing poker for long enough, you know what it's like to be super card dead, right? So it's probably the worst feeling in the world to be sitting at the table, getting 0 cards, while all of your other opponents are super aggressive and raising every pot, and you just can't find a good spot to get your chips in the middle. Like, I know what Joe the Rug is feeling. Like, he's got 4,000 chips, and he's like, God, this Fernando guy, he's in every pot, and this invAAsive guy, he just keep raising, and, you know, I Don't Bluff seems to, you know, be getting hands, and I'm sitting here with nothing, and I don't quite get it. I actually flopped top pair here. I don't think I'm slow playing top pair, but I think I can bet something silly like 380. And get a 10 to continue, get draws to continue. I think better jacks are raising, so I fold to pretty much any raise. I don't think Darrell's getting out of line and raising without at least a jack. Yeah, so obviously I stay out of a lot of trouble, and I've also induced a couple of all-ins. Oh my god, so I'm completely crushed and would have been completely crushed on this flush draw. And it looks like that's a wrap. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Darrell still has 800 chips. So here's another example of Chris showing up and getting all his chips in the middle with obviously the stone cold nuts. Another reason why I want to stay out of this guy's way when he puts all his chips in the middle. The question is whether or not I'm going to call this bet. And it's possible I could re-raise for isolation. But I think Jason's smart enough to not call. So I just need to dodge a king or an 8. Still need to dodge. Great. I think pocket 5s is an easy call for me considering my chip stack. And here we are at the final table. So congratulations. We are at the final table. Thank goodness. Let's check to see if we're still recording. Wow, we've been recording for quite some time, huh? So it looks like we're in third position out of 9. Let's take a look. 4 places get paid, so I just need to make the top 4 here. Well, obviously we're all right, you know what? If you're watching this, you don't want to hear me say, you know, I want to make top 4. I absolutely want to win, but it's going to take a lot of good play in order for me to make it to the top 4. I've got a huge stack on my left, Marcolina. I have a little bit of a history. I've played in 1 or 2 tournaments with Marcolina before. I don't have any notes on Marcolina, so I'm going to have to try to accumulate some notes. I do have enough chips to where I can wait a round or 2 and sort of get a feel for you know, how the players around me are playing. I am extremely pleased to see Jason right here on my right. I love having him on my right. I can't have him on my left. Fernando has a shit ton of chips, so I can be raising from the cutoff, and he will be in the. Actually, if I'm raising from the cutoff, Fernando's going to be in the big blind. So I will pretty much always have position on him when I'm raising. Even when he's in the small blind, I'll be in middle position too. So I actually really like my seat draw here. Lady Rosie, Krista Carlo are probably the most straightforward players at the table, and they're pretty far away from me, which is fine. This Marcolina, I don't know. I need to get a read on what Marcolina's thought process is, and that's something that if you've been playing poker for a while, you're probably saying, well, how the hell are you going to get a read through looking at the online poker? You know, it's almost impossible to get a read, you'd think. But just by sitting back and seeing what he's voluntarily putting money in the middle with, I think I'm going to know what type of player I'm up against. I'll give you an example. Like, you know, I gave Fernando a lot of credit, you know, early on when he was, you know, just checking back his flushes when there was possible full houses out there. I think sometimes just the way somebody bets gives you a little bit of insight into the level of thought that person is on, and it also helps you when you're making bets against a person, whether or not they're cally, whether or not they're foldy, whether or not they are willing to see turns and rivers because they have a medium draws, whether or not they're super fit or fold, and if they don't hit a flop, even if they have small draws, they're not willing to play them. Jason's in here betting into the chip leader on the wettest board you could possibly bet with, so I'm putting him on at least a jack, and that's at the very least, if not ace jack. So, the very least, I'm putting him on a jack. All-in bet on the river. I don't know if that was necessary, unless he had like a flush. Do I want to raise his hand? I don't think I do. Like I said, I think I can fold a little bit for a while and just kind of feel the way the table's playing out. Obviously, it sucks to see it, you know, walk over to Joe the Rug. That really friggin' blows. That sucks a lot, actually. Is Ace-8 any better than Ace-2? No, it's not. But again, I'm not hurting for chips right this second. So, you know, let's just see the way this table plays after 1 or 2 orbits, and I'll get a little bit more of a bead on some of the players that I have no idea how they play. Another player that I really have no idea how they play is Fiesta Fester. Fiesta Fester re-raises. Brendan's all in. Fester calls. Ace-King versus Ace-Jack. Oh, Brendan. Come on. Don't say you're not a lucky fuck. Oh, no way. No way. Oh, man. You know what? May the best hand win, but that hurts, right? So here we are, right? We're short stack. We're in between 2 huge stacks. We get a hand like Ace-Jack. We make a raise. We get re-raised. I don't know if I like the all-in. Let's see the way this hand plays out. So let's just play the hand again. So Brendan's over here in middle position, right? And he makes a 3x raise. Nothing wrong with that because, you know, why not? You have Ace-Jack. So it folds around to Fester, and Fester decides, I have an awesome hand. I'm going to re-raise 2.5 what you already bet, which is a great re-raise size because he's really testing Brendan. So this says strength here, because if it wasn't strong, it's just a call. Like if he has ace jack or, you know, pocket sevens, I think he's just calling. I don't think he's re-raising, although we don't know that for sure. So Brendan says I can't just call. So Brendan's in all-in or fold mode, and he decides that ace jack is good enough. I don't know what, I think he moved all in so fast that you can't. Oh my god, what am I doing? I think I have to shove. If Fernando has me beat, oh, I'm in trouble. In so much trouble. Oh my god. This guy, Fernando, I've been wanting to get it in with this guy so bad. So bad. So bad I've been wanting to get it in with this guy. Am I folding? Am I ever folding? Am I ever folding? 2,000 he raises. I mean, is that a tell? When he raises 9x, is that a tell? God, am I ever folding this hand? You know, I've been wanting to get it in with this guy Fernando for so long that whatever it is that he was trying to accomplish against me, it was going to work. You know, Rosie's all-in is sort of inconsequential at this point. I sort of didn't want to play ace-king out of position against Fernando and with, because I would just hate to fold after putting in 5,000 chips. So I think my all-in, I think it's all-in or nothing for me. And again, another tournament where I don't know if I overplayed ace-king, but it's all-in or fold, isn't it? Like, isn't this hand all-in or fold? I'm trying to figure a way where I just call. So if I just call, what does that leave me? It leaves me 6,000 chips if I just call. And if I just call Fernando with his exact hand, maybe he just calls? I don't know. But anyways, let's pretend for a moment my line is just call. I have 6,000 chips left. And I see this flop. I don't know. I think I'm beating myself up. I think I just have to get it in. And I think that's it. I think I just have to get it in, and I think that's it. I don't know. Tell me what your thoughts are. I actually, there's two things I hate. The first thing that I hate is that Fernando got my chips. The second thing that I hate is that the second tournament in a row where I got it all in pre-flop with ace-king thinking that, you know, I was just good. You know, I'm not worried about Rosie's stack. Like, if Rosie has pocket kings or pocket aces, maybe I don't know, but I'm just not worried about it. And I guess there's you can make an argument for folding. Like, I think you can make an argument for folding, but can you imagine how I would have felt, right? Like, how would I have felt if I had folded ace-king and Fernando, you know, gets it in or calls and has a shitty hand, you know, has a hand like ace-queen or has a hand that isn't as good as ace-king. It would have just been catastrophic for me emotionally because all I wanted was this guy's chips. So, you know, maybe I learned a life lesson. Keep your personal vendettas out of poker. You know, play the cards that you're dealt and keep your emotions out of it. But again, another tournament where I get knocked out with ace-king. It's kind of shitty, but that's just the way it goes. I hope you had fun watching this video. I hope you had fun watching me get crushed. If you have any comments about some of the plays that I made, please let me know. Otherwise, we'll do this again next time. But thanks for watching, and sorry about the long video, but you know, if you want to make the final table, sometimes you got to play for a while. So talk to you guys next time. All right, take care.